So as I've invested in multifamily across the country, and other people come to me, often ask me, where do I get started? How do I get involved? I think you need three things. I think you need a mentor or a coach. I think you need to have a system or process. And I think you have to have a community or group of other people doing the same thing you have. And one of the people that's helped me along the way and been one of the parts of the community along the way and provides resource is Dad Fradenburgh, who has his program, Dan Does Deals. Dan, thanks for taking time with us today.
Oh, definitely my pleasure. It's great to talk to you again.
So let's talk about you have your meetup every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. What's your goal behind doing that meetup?
So the main thing is if you understand the marketing side, the social media side, the fact of just being present and more importantly, consistent. I think that is so important in this industry. It's once people start to think of you as being a pillar in the community and they know that you're going to be there week after week after week, and you know that there's going to be people who are interested in doing business, then the popularity will follow. And me being from the internet, I came from the CRM industry and building online funnels, mass emailing, and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it was a matter of figuring out how do I really get to be a part of that community instead of just being, he's that guy who does these other things and commercial real estate. So,
and I think that you're so right about the consistency. I always tell people if you go 3 times, people assume you've been there for months. If you go like 6 times, they assume you've been there for a year. You go 10 times, they assume you've been there for multiple years. It's always interesting when people say, oh, you've been coming to this meeting for X. It's always like 5 times longer than I've actually been there. And that's the key to it.
Right, exactly.
So that's on the side of the syndicator who's looking for investors and looking for money. Let's talk about what a prospective investor gets out of coming to your syndicator. I know I find you bring on different people, different programs, different investment opportunities. Kind of describe your thinking there. What are you looking to offer people who join in as a guest on those programs?
Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing is the network part of it. And when I'm in a meetup like the one that I run on Tuesdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, I'm really trying to get a feel for what is this person actually like. I hate to be that guy, but one of the things is people, because we have to put on a smiling face, for everything. I think some people take it a bit too far and they gain a rather loose relationship with the truth. And so when you're hanging out with people frequently, then you get to know who actually is willing to follow through on their promises. And that's so important when you're talking about these deals that are 7 figures, 8 figures, and so on. It's like if you don't have a real great chance to talk to people, you're not going to be able to know if they're just going to say, it's like, all right, well, I got my acquisition fee or my XYZ fee, and, now it's your problem, I'm out. It's sure there's legal recourse, but who wants to take somebody to court for that long? So,
and that's when we see somebody regulate a program or the part of a network, you feel much more comfortable. Just some quick housekeeping while if you don't mind. This is the official podcast of the LA County Real Estate Investors Association. We get together every second Thursday of the month here in LA. LAREIC.com is the website if you want to check it out. LA for Los Angeles, RE Real Estate, IC investmentclub.com. But this is actually LA County Real Estate Investors Association is the name of the group. Second Thursday of the month, we get together live. We have 250 people. That's a typical turnout for one of our speakers. And then we have a vendors expo, 50 vendors. I'm one of them. People like Dan, though Dan's not here in Southern California, so we won't see him. But other investors, other educators, other communities, other tools and resources for your investing business as well. And so you can sign up for free on the website. It's 6:30 on the second Thursday of the month. The next one's December 14th at the Iman Cultural Center near the Culver City area. And then there's a different topic every month. This month's topic will be out-of-state investing, which a lot of people in our area are interested in doing. And Dan can help us a little bit with some ideas there as well. But there'll be a whole seminar on that subject. So let's talk about out-of-state investing. I'm in Los Angeles. I want to invest outside of LA for 2 reasons. One is I want to diversify. My business is in LA, very business-centric in LA in real estate. So I want to diversify. Second, LA real estate is very controlled, regulated. Not to say you can't make money at it, but is a very specific format, and buy and hold, I think, has some challenges. You have people on your program literally from around the country. So talk a
Mhm.
little bit about the opportunities for people looking to learn about where can I invest on your syndication program.
Sure. And as far as my background goes, I like to say that the mother of invention is necessity, and it's also the mother of several things in, like, like my skill set and also my network. So when I decided to make the jump into real estate from doing the tech for real estate flippers and investors, that was a tough decision to make. It wasn't that easy, and one of the biggest things was figuring out how can I make that work. How can I, because I didn't know enough insiders where, like, they were more or less on my team and we decided to get involved in these deals together. I was really starting from scratch, and one of the things that I think people in the audience can definitely relate to is that if you are going to do a change in career, like go full-time into real estate or commercial real estate or something like that, then if your time is already super duper valuable, you got to figure out a way to make it work and make it work fast. And part of that means that you have to meet a whole whack of people, but you also have to know how and also whether or not they can do business with you or not. Because, you can meet all the investors you want. If they're all interested in something that you're not up to, then you're still out of luck. So I ended up creating dandoesdeals.com and the podcast that goes with it, which is called Chance Encounters. The name Chance Encounters is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's a bit of a joke. It's because when I found out about the compliance about a 506B deal, I heard, okay, you're not allowed to entice investors. You're not allowed to entice investors. So I'm like, oh no, I need to meet a bunch of them. How do you meet them without enticing them? And then the other thing, too, is because of my tech background and having all this stuff, it occurred to me that my competitive advantage was through podcasting, through interviewing people in this little format, because, other people would be paying $250 an episode, depending on what they're up to. Right. And that's, you're going to run out of cash quite quickly if that's what you're up to. Taking these really, really long meetings and cashing out a lot. So I knew that because of my tech background, I could put on a podcast for way cheaper than other people. And the, what do you want to call it? The FaceTime that you get with your audience, with other people in this industry, you just can't discount it at all. It's so important to get your face out there so people recognize you, remember, oh yeah, I remember that guy, he's the guy who, whatever, or girl, gal, whatever you prefer.
Or whatever they are, Giger,
Exactly.
whatever, no judgment. Right. So, in some ways, I'm the same boat, right? I'm in real estate. We're in the meet the people business as an agent. I want to meet people who need to sell property. My focus on probate, and so I can, get in my car and drive one by one, or cold call one by one, set appointments, or have a podcast to get a bunch of people at the same time. And I don't think that getting people on a podcast is as valuable as one-to-one. But if I get 100, it might be, or 50 or 200. There is a number that corresponds to that being equivalent. And then we just have to replicate that number daily or weekly in order to achieve our goals. And it seems like the same thing's true with people looking to invest. You might say, well, if I'm going to invest, I should look at 100 deals. Does that mean you're going to go to 100 different meetups, 100 different one-on-one luncheons or coffees? Or maybe you can go to 100 different podcasts and meet 100 people that way. Maybe you need to meet 50 instead of follow-up, or 100 instead of a follow-up. But the point is you can really expedite the process. So what kind of people do you have? I know on your podcast, you have a wide variety. You play around with the technology quite a bit. How would you say, what is the most common topic that you're talking about in your podcast?
Okay, so what I did was I switched the format so that it's really easy for anybody to be a guest on the show. It doesn't matter if you've been in this for decades or if you just decided a couple weeks ago. The questions are always the same, and it's a 15-minute format. The idea being, if anybody comes on to the podcast, I'm demonstrating a few different things in the shortest amount of time possible. One is this is how these deals work, and you can go ahead and try and argue with me, but at the end of the day, you need these, or else your business is going to be in trouble. So I asked the guests, so which one of them is you? And then what are your motivations to actually follow through with one of the deals? Because it takes months. There are plenty of dangers involved. You put in your earnest money deposit, all that sort of stuff, and it might go away because you have to walk away from the deal for one reason or another. So getting a feel for the person's personality, what they're already knowledgeable about, what they're looking for, what they're looking to contribute, and who they're looking for, that's what tells me the most. So it's just those 15-minute questions that are very similar to a 506B questionnaire that you often have to get filled out according to the securities attorneys. It's just asking about your financial background and all that kind of stuff. But on dandoesdeals.com, I knew it's like, okay, nobody wants to really share that being too simply, so instead I use code words. Like I say, like, hey, are you making your next acquisition because you're trying to preserve your purchasing power? Well, somebody who's in that position, they go, yes, I'm concerned that inflation is going to eat away at my nest egg. But a regular person, they're not really thinking. It's like, well, if I had some purchasing power to protect, maybe that would be different. But that's really what I'm up to, and finding out where are you in the big things. I guess the other one I should mention as well, that I think is truly innovative about the format, is that I emphasize the role, the distinction between a repositioner and a KP sponsor. And with a repositioner, the person, they're still the brains. They're figuring out how they can change the property so there's more upside and make more money. But I found too many people, they try, especially when they're beginners and the youngsters, they try to pretend that their sponsors' achievements are their own achievements. And you have to really get to brass tacks with that. It's like, like, am I actually talking to the decision maker here? Because we do have to do that in order to keep this ball rolling, and we can't have somebody who's actually far more influential, being sidelined. So that's the format.
And it's almost like you're doing a consult with a prospective investor, you're getting clarity on where they fit, but you're also helping them get clarity on where they fit so they can look for the right opportunities.
Right, exactly. Because I know that, like, how many people are actually going to be a good fit compared to how many people I want to talk to. And it's just really, when you're talking about things like real estate, it's such a long game that you have to be prepared for, that people will change. One day they're a buyer, another day it's like, no, they're only sellers. It's different things like that.
It's you say that it's a long game. I know as a real estate agent or broker, marketing is a long game, and most people fail at that, right? The average lead buys a property, sells a property over 2 years after they raise their hand to say, I'm interested. And so as a real estate broker agent, we have to find a way to stay in touch with them and create value for them during that whole at least 2-year journey, half or 2 years or less, half or more than 2 years. But the same is true with investing, right? It's a long-term game, as you said, both in when they're going to invest and what they're investing for. But in addition to a long-term game, it's also a very broad game. Like, I'm sure, like you, I get approached with a new niche of real estate, like monthly, if not weekly.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been around a while. And so people get very distracted with all the different possibilities and don't understand that whichever one they go, they're going to have to commit to for a period of time to play the long game to get the success. And so I find people get just lost in the excitement of all the opportunities rather than really focusing in on a plan. How do you see people? What's the path for them to get their focus and they get straight? Because I feel like I'm pretty focused. I'm glad with the program I'm working. I don't really have the skill set to help somebody else. That's a different skill set than helping them sell a house. How do you help people kind of get clarity on where they do fit so they can find the right niche and play it in the long-term game?
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that people will self-select about, and I think that that's one of them. One of the jokes I make, or one odd situation, so the chance encounters, I think I hit number 300 in the last month or two or something like that. And out of all of those, there was one in particular where I thought that, okay, we had to, re-record part of it and redo it just because the answer wasn't very good. The question had to do with the unit count that this person is comfortable investing in. So are you looking for an 8-unit apartment complex, a 10-unit, 50, 150, so on, something like that. And that's one of those things where it's very personal. It has to do with your feelings. I'm a big believer that if you are trying to force yourself to do something you don't want to do, there are going to be consequences that you're not going to like that are going to come along at some point and basically, spoil the party. And so there's nothing wrong with not knowing how many units you need in an apartment complex. But, at the end of the day, if it scares the heck out of you and you're frozen in indecision, then that's not the asset class for you. So fortunately, people do tend to self-select. The chance encounters themselves, they are pretty dialed into the apartment complexes specifically. So we do get some people who are in self-storage or industrial, different things like that. Occasionally somebody in retail space, but usually they're in multifamily, and that means that you've got a pretty consistent way of putting together a team, right? You have to have somebody nearby, the boots on the ground. You have to have the deal sponsor. You have to have the brains who's figuring out how to change it. You need your person who's strong in operations. You need your financiers, and then of course the bankroll. So that's the sponsor KP. So if that's really what you have to get put together if you're going to be doing any of this stuff.
So true. I'm not a general partner. I'm just a limited partner investor, and I jump into your programs to kind of vet the sponsors and the investors. I mean, the general partners, and I have a very clear rule on what I want to invest in, and I get presented great opportunities. For me personally, and I'm not saying I'm right, anybody else is wrong, but for me that fits is 200 unit and up, larger, kind of professionally managed businesses that are. There's a certain consistency to them. And I get, said, oh, this is a great project and it's 129 units. I look and go, well, it is great. It's just not the scale that gives me the security. And I might be wrong in the long run on the return, but I also have to be able to go to bed at night and feel like I've made the right decision and continue to make income and invest more money. And so you're right that we have to have these standards and not really spend a lot of time rethinking them along the way, maybe once a quarter, once a year, evaluate or discuss with a mentor, updating your rules. But we can't look at a deal and start reevaluating our rules. That's the wrong time. That's why you have rules, is to vet that deal out and get on the next one, right?
Absolutely.
Now, you do a lot of work helping people who want to become general partners, who want to run projects, right? The real focus of your programs are more people in that space. And you attract a wide variety of those people. Do you take them through the whole process? Do you have a partner that you refer them to? Do you have programs that you refer them to fill in the gaps or to put the whole process together? How does somebody go from I'm interested in being a general partner to they're happy to be on your show or happy to be in your podcast? I mean, on your Zoom call. But how do they actually go from that to finishing the job up?
So there's a few different ways. And of course, one of the main things is most people who are just getting started in this industry, I'm probably not the best fit for them, just because you need to be established before somebody like me really can chip in, take in more of the grunt work, more of the load. But generally what I'll do is I'll draw attention to the dandoesdeals.com Chance Encounter playlist, just because it goes through the business as far as what does a team look like, and it's all in 15 minutes. I think that that's a very valuable resource. But the other one was very tongue-in-cheek. You already know about this one, Bill. It's pretty funny. The idea was that I knew that coming from tech, especially digital security people, were so skeptical. And I knew I'd be talking to people like engineers and whatever, and we just don't generally trust marketing and finance and things like that. We just figure it's like, okay, it's a shell game, and the house always wins or something like that. So with with these different the service I'm talking about that I also point people towards, especially if they're skeptical, it's realestateisascam.com. And the idea there was, I'm a quick learner and I'm looking for digital security. And what was going through my head as I was learning how these syndications work was, well, everybody wants to say, hey, everything's going to be fantastic. Of course, everybody knows that if you start buying a bunch of houses and start self-managing those rentals, it's not passive, just like Dave Ramsey likes to say. It's like that part he's got right. But, to say there's no passive income in real estate, that's just ludicrous. You really just have to know the people who offer that. And, like the passive investors will generally own between 60 and 80%, depending on the deal sponsors of all the equity. So saying that, that's not a real thing is just absolutely ludicrous. So I tend to point people in those directions. And one of my biggest priorities, though, is I want people to get involved in a deal. And, maybe, and really I say I want them to get involved in a deal. I mean, instead of just trying to spend, $40K on some mentorship program where you probably could have got the same results or better for like $2K, $5K, something like that. You don't have to go for, the best marketed system out there. It's a very mature industry. Finding somebody who is trustworthy, will show you the ropes. It's really not that difficult, and it's simple to find online. So generally, if I got somebody brand new, I'll tell them about, okay, you should come on this, you should come on that. But I think what you're doing with your line of questioning is you're recognizing that, like reading through the lines, I'm eager to have a huge supply of people who have been in this for 5 years, 10 years, something like that. And so when I help up front the ways that I can, then when it's time to do a deal with each other, it's like, oh yeah, I really want to do a deal with that guy. I know I've been following on social media for quite some time. So that's the play.
I do think that you're 100% right. The best way to learn is to get involved. Now you have money at stake. And when you get sent, it's funny how we all are in presentations and see documents from different investments, but when it's your money and you get the quarterly statement, you read it. At least that was me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I got involved. My first deal ever was Grant Cardone had a non-accredited program. I put $5,000 in it, and I got really $5,000 worth of education for
Mm-hmm.
the $5,000, and I still got my money back, and I still got a reasonable return on the investment. I don't know that I would start that small again because it also takes time if you have more money to invest. So
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely agree that 100% find something that's worth putting some money in to get started, and then use that as your way to learn where you want to invest, and also learn what, if you want to be a syndicator or be a general partner, learn what they're doing, find their systems, find their methodologies, find their vendors, maybe partner with them on a deal is an easy way to go, because most of them I find are willing to work together and bring more people into the business as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. You always need more capital.
Everybody always needs more. There's always more to do. So real estate is a scam. I
Mm-hmm.
love that that's your program. Nobody else has the balls to pull that one off. I just think that is uniquely you. And then dandoesdeals.com is the website that has the commercial syndication meetup as well. And then, so yeah, the meetup, the chance encounters is a one-on-one style video with prospective investors. And then the real estate is a scam is what, more kind of a, is that an interview topic as well? Or is that?
It's more of a lecture style, and so the way it works is I'll find a topic. Excuse. Oh man, that was fun. But anyway, I find a topic, and what I focus on instead is whenever there's something where a reasonable person, an intelligent person, could wind up losing their shirt. Mm-hmm. Instead of just sweeping it under the rug, I decided, why don't I make a video about it and just be really clear? It's like, okay, is this possible? So one of my favorite titles that reveals that side of the site, it's you can't do deals with $0 parentheses, but your coach can. And that is definitely the one saying that I hear real estate people like coaches, gurus and stuff say, that I think that is the most dishonest thing that they say. Like the two big ones, one of them is, oh, find the deal and the money will follow. It's like, well, if you're in a 506B deal and you're not accredited, then you can't advertise and find new people. So that's pretty dishonest. But on the other side, saying like, oh, you can get involved in deals with your own cash and credit. It's like, well, it's not going to be your first deal and it's not going to be your second deal. It's like, even if you're figuring that out, everybody who's putting their money in, they're saying like, hey, what's going to keep you actually taking care of this building, this property, this business? And if you're coming up kind of short, then you're not going to get involved in any deals. There's just no way. So that's the sort of thing that I try to include. I also took my sights on a few of the different popular coaching or guru programs out there that seem to be fueled more by the marketing side and heavily playing into their margin instead of actually teaching how this stuff works, getting the people who've already done enough deals to be more helpful. Because that's a big problem. Like I've heard in one coaching program, people are saying, "Oh, just do your first deal so you can be a coach." And if you're shelling out your 40K and you find out that that's who you're learning from, it's like, sure, knowledge is knowledge. There's a textbook, there's a guidebook,
Right.
for the teachers to go through, and they're not going to be flagrantly incorrect. But even still, you got to be really, really careful about who you put your trust into. And so that's the other thing that I take aim at. It's like, okay, so what can you get out of a great coaching program? And how can we say it's not me, it's you?
I find there's a relationship between the value of a coaching program and how much content they'll give you for free.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's not the content, it's the relationship that you're really paying for. You can watch some of these YouTubes all you want and learn all their secrets, but normally in order to call them up and really work through with them on a regular basis, you need to be in their program, a student or some level. That's with my business. I'm in real estate and I'll give away a lot of what I do. I say 99% of what I do for free. If you really want me to sit down and work through a business plan for you personally and help you weekly, well, join my team. I don't want to be, shy about that. And if you don't want to, fine. I give away everything for free online. You can do it on your own. And I do think that so when I find organizations that don't have much for free, that everything is paid for, it's because they don't have enough content to give anything of value away for free. They're probably, even what they're selling is probably not really of value for the most part. That's not universal, but generally I find that true. You
Yeah.
give away a lot for free, so that's why you fill in my category of somebody that I would point people to, and they can find out on their own. Is that kind of you must agree with the concept because you're doing the same thing yourself.
Definitely. It's my main priority is making sure that we got real businesses going on instead of fake
Right.
businesses, I
Right.
guess you could call it.
Right.
That really is what's been going through my head. Basically, I just don't like the thought of people being seriously victimized,
I
and
hate
it
that.
absolutely happens. It really bugs me. It's like, when somebody's trying so hard, making all the right decisions, being real careful, and then just something where, if you didn't know, like I knew an attorney who apparently the first thing he did after he passed the bar exam is he and another attorney who passed the bar exam, they went and sold a security without knowing that that's illegal, because they didn't have licenses, they didn't have an exemption, they didn't file with the exemption or anything like that. And like that sort of situation where it's like a decent person, great ethics, could still end up being behind the eight ball. That's what bugs me the most, because it just makes it seem like the whole endeavor is just so pointless.
I think the other part is that I'm always looking for real practitioners. When I see somebody who's coaching and they're doing what they're teaching you, and then they're coaching to help build their team or to, handle the overflow or handle areas they don't really service and monetize it. To me, it makes a lot of sense. I'm a real estate broker. I sell houses primarily in California for their probate related. And I have a team around the country that takes on other listings. I'm glad to teach other people, but that's because I'm building out my business. But when I see coaches who don't do, but they're teaching you, well, how good opportunity is it? I mean, personally, I love selling real estate. It's a great opportunity. It's a great business. That's why I do it, and I make good money at it. If I was teaching full time, I think I would have made the decision I don't know what the hell I'm doing here, but I can get you to send me a check more easily than I can sell a house. That's where things I think break down.
Right. Right. And that's the problem. The other thing too is being a fantastic teacher or instructor, that's absolutely a skill. And it does concern me. It always concerned me greatly about how the number of gurus and mentors who it's written all over them that they never had any inspiration to be an educator at all. And so what exactly do you do in that situation? Another video I have on real estate is a scam.com is nobody does everything and this guy doesn't even ... And the reason for that is everybody's guilty of that. You're never going to find somebody who's doing all the sides of a commercial real estate deal for any real amount of time. They're going to pick a lane that's most advantageous for them and they're going to stick with it. So it's so important to keep that stuff in mind. And so like you definitely, I don't know. Well, I guess if we get into medicine without getting too far into the weeds, you talk to physicians, they'll talk about the placebo effect, and the smarter ones, they'll use the placebo effect as an example of how things are supposed to work. Right. Which is that, like if you feel like you're being taken care of, at the end of the day, your body is what's taking care of itself and healing and recovering and all that sort of stuff. So you have to allow your body to do that, and having somebody who, it's entirely possible that you in the audience who's thinking about getting deeper into real estate or commercial real estate, you just need the accountability of having somebody who's saying like, all right, so what's the plan for this week? Okay, what's the plan for this week? Okay, what are we going to achieve by the end of this quarter? What about this half? What about this year? It's possible that that's all you need, and then you don't really need to understand real estate. But the number of education programs that a person could possibly have to get into this, and I'm saying like as far as like focused skill sets, it's vast. Yeah. So find your person who wants to achieve or has already achieved what you want to do. I think that's really key, and then just make sure that they can actually express themselves, and they don't have that scarcity mentality that comes from the conflict of interest. It's like, oh, you can't graduate from my program because then I got nothing to sell you anymore. Huh. That's not great.
No, not at all. It's so interesting because for my team, my operations person said, we really need to get our people to take to learn more about this fundamental skill, email, in the case of real estate agents. And I would teach it over and over again, and I wouldn't get that many people on the call from our team. And she said, what we should do is market to the general public and sell tickets and then tell people in the team it costs money and you'll reimburse them if they take it for free. I got more people taking it because now I'm charging for it and reimbursing them. Plus I got 10 other people buying tickets. So it seems like it's an important event, and it is, I think, good material. But there's no follow-on. I don't do a monthly program. It's the program. There's 4 follow-ups, 30-minute sessions with it, and you learn the fundamentals, and then go out and use it. And I think that's the key: is you want to get people to get to some result. Nobody wants to be in psychotherapy the rest of their lives. They come in with a problem that they want fixed, and if we can help them fix it in real estate, we can help them make money. If we just addict them to our coaching, then we've just probably move them backwards, not forward. So I'm with you on that 100%. Dan, I could talk to you forever. I really appreciate your time. Best place to get in contact with you, dandoesdeals.com.
dandoesdeals.com is good. LinkedIn is probably better. Fortunately, I got the big, long last name, so that makes it really easy to find me. It's not as easy to type, mind you. There I am. Okay. Boom.
I'm a pretty fast typist, so there you are.
You sure are.
On LinkedIn, Dan-Fradenburgh, and you have the crazy picture. Really, you are into this stuff. I have to say, I try to be very plain vanilla, but you really hit the tail. So LinkedIn's a great place to find you. Dan does deals. He has the Chance Encounters episodes, which is great stuff. Real estate is a scam, definitely worth checking out as well. 506b.me is for people who are syndicating, looking to move that direction as well. We'll get a lot of that on our call, but I definitely have a need for some of that. And then I think the real value for me personally is the live commercial syndicator meetup. Every Tuesday, it's 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern. There's a Zoom link right there. Put it right into your calendar, and you make it real easy for us. Dan, always a pleasure. Thank you for all you do for the industry, and it's great seeing you.
My pleasure. Great talking to you.
And for everybody else on the call today, thank you for joining us. This is the LA County Real Estate Investors Association. We get together every Tuesday, 3 p.m., live stream this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. We also put it into our Facebook group, which is for the LA Investors group. We have the monthly meeting, the second Thursday of the month in the LA County area. It's in Kind of Palms. And then if you want to continue the conversation, love to have you on the Facebook group, Los Angeles County Real Estate Investors Association. It's a Facebook group. We have 1,100 members. People come to the program and want to get more out of it, can participate. So thank you all. I'm Bill Gross Probate on social media, and we'll talk to you guys.